Now we will further modify our address label maker program to include some radio buttons, and we'll see how you can write code to interact with those radio buttons. As you can see, I've entered some data for our address label maker program, and as we know from previous movies, we can click create label, and that will create the mailing label in the first name, street address, city, state, and zip code. And I could now select, I've added a group box with radio buttons to indicate whether this is a new customer or not. So if I click the yes button, that yes, this is a new customer, and then I could then do some further processing. But if I'm now ready to go to the next customer and I want to clear the contents of this form, I can click clear form, and as we know, our code does indeed clear the text boxes and also clears the labels. However, you notice that the radio buttons, yes and no, have not been cleared. So let's take a look at the code to work with the radio buttons. So I'll stop the project, open up the clear form radio button, scroll to the bottom, and let's add another comment that says this will reset the new customer selection. Since we really don't know whether the user checked the new customer yes or no button, and it does not really matter at this point in time, we simply want to clear the selection. So even though we know by default only one of those two radio buttons, either yes or no, would have been selected, what we want to do is simply clear both of them. Now, it will not create a problem if we clear a radio button that has not been selected. So let's check our drop-down list and find the names of the radio buttons. And as you can see, one is called yes radio button and the other is the no radio button. Does not really matter what order we work with these, but I will simply write yes radio button dot, and once again, if the control is recognized, it will then present the IntelliSense list. Now with radio buttons and also with checkboxes, there is a property called checked. And as you can see, if you type the word check, and it will eventually find the word checked, if you select that and then set checked property, and as soon as I press the equal sign, Visual Basic knows that I have two choices. A radio button either can be checked or not checked. That is, it is either false or true. So if I want to reset the yes radio button, I will set that to false. In essence, unselecting it. And then I simply do the same for the no radio button. Set that equal to false as well. So now I have reset both the yes radio button and the no radio button, and regardless of which one they selected, they both will be returned to their default state of not being selected. So we'll test our program once more. I now create label. I'll choose yes for the new customer. Click the clear form. As you can see, all checkboxes as well as the radio buttons have been, and the labels have been cleared. Even if the user has selected no, since we included that in our code, that would have been selected as well. If we had checkboxes instead of radio buttons, this would be handled in basically the same manner. You still have a checked property, just like you do with radio buttons. You have a checked property associated with checkboxes, and they should be set to either true or false. Now let's take this one step further, since we're in our code window here. And let's say that when we reset the form, that we want to make the no radio button our default. That is, have it pre-selected. So I can right here type no radio button dot checked equals, and I can now set that to true. And I'll write a little comment here that tells us what we're doing, which will say set no radio button as the default selection. So what we're saying here is clear the contents, clear all the labels and radio buttons, and then go back and reset the no button to true. So whether it was selected or not before, it will now be reset to no. So let's test our program one more time. I've now created the label, and I'll choose yes again. Click clear form, and notice everything is cleared, but now the no radio button has been pre-selected for me for the next customer. So in addition to clearing, you can actually set the value of a radio button or a checkbox for that matter to true by setting it equal to true.